The autumn rain drummed steadily against the windows of the small coffee shop in Flint, Michigan, where Terry Crews sat reviewing his schedule between meetings. The familiar scent of freshly ground coffee mixed with the distant hum of conversations created a comforting atmosphere that reminded him of simpler times. At 55, the former NFL player turned beloved actor had learned to appreciate these quiet moments between his busy Hollywood schedule. As he scrolled through his phone, a notification from Facebook caught his attention. It was a post from his old elementary school's alumni page, sharing news about retired teachers. His heart stopped when he saw a familiar name and photo. Mrs. Dorothy Henderson, his third-grade teacher who had changed the course of his life. The post was brief but concerning. Retired teacher Dorothy Henderson, 78, recently moved to Sunset. Manor-assisted living after her husband's passing. She taught at Lincoln Elementary for 42 years and touched countless lives. Terry's mind immediately transported him back to 1975. He was 8 years old, struggling in school, his family facing financial hardships. His father worked multiple jobs. His mother did her best to keep 5 children in line, and young Terry often felt lost in the shuffle. But Mrs. Henderson saw something in him that no one else had noticed. "You have a gift, Terry," she had told him one afternoon after class, her kind brown eyes filled with genuine belief. "You have the ability to make people smile, to bring joy to others. Don't ever let anyone tell you that's not important." She had been the first adult outside his family to truly believe in him, to see past his struggles with reading and his occasional outbursts of energy. She had nurtured his natural charisma and encouraged him to join the school's drama club, where he discovered his love for performing. Terry immediately called his assistant. "Cancel my afternoon meetings. I need to drive to Michigan." The 3-hour drive from his hotel in Chicago gave him time to think. He wondered if Mrs. Henderson would even remember him among the thousands of students she had taught. More importantly, he wondered why she was living alone in an assisted living facility. Didn't she have family? Had her former students forgotten about the woman who had invested so much in their futures? Sunset Manor was a modest facility on the outskirts of Flint, its brick exterior weathered but well-maintained. The lobby smelled of disinfectant and fresh flowers, with residents scattered across comfortable chairs, some watching television, others playing cards. Terry approached the reception desk, his heart pounding with nervous excitement. "I'm here to see Dorothy Henderson," he told the receptionist, a young woman with a warm smile. "Are you family?" she asked, glancing at his identification. "Former student," Terry replied. I just want to visit with her if she's willing." The receptionist made a quick call, then smiled. "Room 237. She's having her afternoon tea and would love the company." Terry walked down the hallway, his footsteps echoing softly on the polished floor. He paused outside room 237, taking a deep breath before knocking gently. "Come in," came a voice that instantly transported him back 4 decades. Mrs. Henderson sat in a comfortable chair by the window, a cup of tea in her hands, and a book in her lap. Her hair was silver now, her face lined with years of wisdom and laughter, but her eyes held the same warmth he remembered. She looked up as he entered, her expression shifting from polite curiosity to complete astonishment. "Terry Crews?" she whispered, setting down her teacup with trembling hands. "My goodness, is that really you?" "Hello, Mrs. Henderson," Terry said, his voice thick with emotion. "I hope you don't mind the surprise visit." She stood slowly, her face breaking into the radiant smile he remembered from childhood. "Mind? Oh, Terry, this is the most wonderful surprise I've had in years. Come here, give your old teacher a hug." They embraced, and Terry felt like that 8-year-old boy again, seeking comfort and guidance from the woman who had believed in him when he couldn't believe in himself. "Look at you," she said, stepping back to study his face. "I've seen you on television, in movies. I tell everyone here that I taught Terry Crews, but I don't think they believe me." "Well, now they'll have proof," Terry laughed, settling into, the chair across from her. "Mrs. Henderson, I need you to know something. You changed my life. What you said to me about making people smile, about having a gift. I've never forgotten those words." Her eyes filled with tears. "Oh, Terry, you were such a special boy. I always knew you'd do something remarkable with your life." They talked for hours. Mrs. Henderson shared stories about her 42 years of teaching, her late husband Robert, who had passed 6 months earlier, and her adjustment to life at Sunset Manor. Terry learned that she had no children of her own. She had poured all her maternal love into her students instead. "I'm content here," she insisted, though Terry noticed the loneliness in her eyes. "The staff is wonderful, and I have my books, my garden shows on television." But Terry saw through her brave facade. This woman who had given so much to others was spending her golden years alone, with only memories for company. That evening, Terry sat in his hotel room, unable to shake the image of Mrs. Henderson alone in her small room. He thought about all the lives she had touched, all the children she had encouraged and believed in. An idea began to form, not just a visit, but something bigger, something that would show her the true impact of her life's work. He started making calls. First, he contacted his social media team, then reached out to his publicist. By midnight, he had a plan that would require coordination, careful planning, and the help of dozens of people. But he was determined to make it happen. The next morning, Terry returned to Sunset Manor with a proposal for the administration. He wanted to organize a surprise appreciation event for Mrs. Henderson, but he needed their help and cooperation. The facility director, Sarah Martinez, was immediately on board. "Mrs. Henderson is one of our most beloved residents," Sarah explained as they walked through the facility's common areas. "She's always helping other residents, reading to them, organizing little activities. She's the heart of this place, but I can tell she's struggling with the loneliness." Meanwhile, Terry's team was working behind the scenes. They had located the Lincoln Elementary School alumni page and began reaching out to former students. The response was overwhelming. Person after person shared stories of how Mrs. Henderson had impacted their lives. The shy child she had encouraged to speak up, the troubled student she had stayed after school to help, the dreamer she had taught to believe in impossible goals. Marcus Johnson, now a successful engineer, wrote, "Mrs. Henderson saw that I was good with numbers when everyone else just saw a quiet black kid from the wrong side of town. She got me into the math club and changed my whole trajectory." Lisa Chen, a pediatric nurse, shared, "When my family moved here from Taiwan, I spoke barely any English. Mrs. Henderson spent her lunch breaks with me every day, helping me learn. She made me feel like I belonged." The stories kept coming, each one painting a picture of a teacher who had gone far beyond her job description to touch lives and change futures. Terry also reached out to local media, explaining his mission. The story of the Hollywood star honoring his elementary school teacher began to spread, inspiring others to think about the teachers who had made a difference in their own lives. 1 week later, Sunset Manor's main activity room had been transformed. Colorful banners hung from the ceiling, tables were adorned with fresh flowers, and a large screen displayed a slideshow of photos from Mrs. Henderson's teaching career. Terry had worked with the school district to gather decades of classroom photos and yearbook pictures. Mrs. Henderson had been told there was a small facility event she was invited to attend. She entered the room in her best dress, her silver hair carefully styled, expecting to see the usual group of residents and staff. Instead, she found herself face to face with more than 50 people, former students who had traveled from across the country to honor her. "Surprise!" they shouted in unison, and Mrs. Henderson's hands flew to her mouth in shock. Terry stepped forward with a microphone. "Mrs. Henderson, I told you that you changed my life, but I wanted you to see that I wasn't the only one." One by one, her former students approached the microphone to share their stories. There was Dr. Michael Torres, who had become a pediatrician after Mrs. Henderson encouraged his love of science. Jennifer Walsh, now a best-selling author, credited Mrs. Henderson with nurturing her love of storytelling. Robert Kim, a successful restaurant owner, spoke about how Mrs. Henderson had helped him overcome his fear of public speaking. Each testimony brought fresh tears to Mrs. Henderson's eyes. She had no idea that her quiet acts of kindness and encouragement had rippled out into the world in such profound ways. I don't know what to say," she whispered when Terry handed her the microphone. "I was just doing my job. I loved teaching. Loved all of you children. You were never just students to me. You were my kids, and I believed in every single one of you." But Terry wasn't finished. He had one more surprise. Working with the facility's social worker and several of Mrs. Henderson's former students who had remained in the area, he had arranged for a special support system. A group of her former students would take turns visiting her regularly, ensuring she always had company and assistance with anything she needed. "Mrs. Henderson," Terry said, "you spent your career taking care of others. Now it's time to let us take care of you." The celebration continued late into the evening. Former students shared memories, laughed over old stories, and marveled at how their paths had crossed decades later through their shared love for an extraordinary teacher. Mrs. Henderson sat in the center of it all, surrounded by the living, proof of her life's work. Local news stations covered the event, and the story went viral on social media. The hashtag #DaughterThankATeacher began trending as people shared their own stories of educators who had made a difference in their lives. But for Terry, the most meaningful moment came at the end of the evening when Mrs. Henderson pulled him aside. "Terry," she said, her voice filled with emotion, "you know what makes me happiest about all this? It's not the celebration, wonderful as it is. It's seeing the man you've become. You've used your gift to bring joy to others, just like I knew you would. But more than that, you've used your success to lift up others, to show kindness and gratitude. That's the greatest lesson any teacher could hope to see learned." As the evening wound down and guests began to leave, each person hugged Mrs. Henderson goodbye, promising to stay in touch. The lonely woman who had started the day with only her memories now had a renewed sense of connection and purpose. Terry was the last to leave. "This isn't goodbye," he told her. "This is just the beginning. You'll never be alone again." 3 months later, Mrs. Henderson had become something of a local celebrity. Her story had inspired similar reunions across the country, and she received letters from teachers and former students around the world. More importantly, she was surrounded by love and companionship from the extended family of students she had nurtured over the years. Terry's simple act of gratitude had grown into a movement, reminding people everywhere of the profound impact teachers have on our lives. And Mrs. Henderson, the woman who had spent her career believing in others, finally got to see the incredible legacy she had created. The story serves as a powerful reminder that the teachers who shape us in our earliest years carry that influence with them forever, often never knowing the full extent of the lives they've touched and the dreams they've helped bring to life. If this heartwarming story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring true stories that celebrate the power of human kindness and gratitude. Don't forget to share this video with someone who needs to be reminded of the teachers who made a difference in their own life. What teacher changed your life? Let us know in the comments below.